Hello, welcome to DSA Plus Programming Mentorship Orientation. Now, this particular training is based on my own concept called perspective based mentoring. Let me explain what is perspective based mentoring with an example of food. So, when we were actually toddler, the food is what we require to satisfy our hunger. We get hungry, we want food. When we became a kid, our taste started developing. And then when we became a teenager, we started having the likes and dislikes of the various food. Then we grew and became an adult. And then we started appreciating ambience of the place where we take food, the quality of the food, the variety of the food, the nutrition value of the food. And then we in fact started following various trends related to food. So what has happened here is that with the age growth has happened. And with the growth, what has happened actually is acquisition of various perspectives, and that's how we have grown. The same thing happens with the technical topics, learning technical topics or practicing technical topics. What we get is perspective and the enhanced perspective. So the basic idea behind this approach is that instead of instead of exchanging the details, we exchange the perspectives, we exchange the concepts. Because of that, in a short time, we'll be able to jump the experience level, or in the short time, we'll be able to jump the experience ladder. That's the main concept behind the perspective based mentoring. Now, let us take an example from our current context of a DSE. Here we have a bubble sort. In the bubble sort, the numbers are bubbled to the top. Like here, 95 has bubbled from the third position to the topmost position because of the certain logic that is bubble sort. Now, if you look at the bubble sort, there are three perspectives that you're possibly already aware of it. Three perspectives or three aspects of it that we are already aware of it. One is the logic, second is the data and data structures, and the third one is the running time. So we call them three perspectives. Now, if you take a logic perspective and then study various other algorithms, you start noticing that bubble sort is actually based on the comparison. So it is a sort of a comparison based sorting technique. Your experience grows and then you start finding it. How about non-comparison based algorithms? What are other algorithms which are not based on comparison? And then if you go further, it will lead you to IP development, maybe your own algorithms and things like that. If you go on the second perspective of data and data structures, you find that these particular numbers have a contiguous arrangement. Now, how about non-contiguous arrangement and where that will be applicable? This will eventually lead you to get an in-depth understanding of data, memory, and memory access. Third perspective of a running time, if you notice, is running time of this particular bubble sort. It depends on the iteration, which depends on the number of numbers that needs to be sorted out actually. Now the running time will definitely depends on all the operations, which means we need to take a close watch on the operations that we are going to do or perform as part of bubble sort. This will eventually lead you to get an in-depth understanding of the processors, or how the processors work and how the processing time is measured, or how the various operation affect the total or whole processing time. So if you see the perspectives and the enhanced perspective, and then that gives us a more enhanced perspective, and that eventually leads to expertise actually. So the more perspectives you have, you will get more enhanced perspective, and then you will be able to go to the expertise level in a shorter time. Let's take one more example of a programming languages. So you're already aware of a procedure programming language like C, and you're already aware of a object-oriented programming languages like Java. Now, the one way to look at this particular both the programming languages is the perspective of a design patterns and programming patterns. So if you look at this particular change from the procedure programming to the object-oriented programming from this particular perspective, you will find that this is rather an evolution of the programming concepts rather than revolution of the programming concepts, which means you will be able to relate much better way as to what object-oriented programming provides and why is it providing that kind of a functionality, which means we have an in-depth understanding of the object-oriented programming. Let us look at the two critical advantages of this particular perspective-based mentoring. Okay, so in case of a mediocre training approach, okay, the initially the growth will happen very fast. We'll be able to acquire knowledge very fast, but it will certainly saturate after time, and in fact, it will start fall down because there were too many concepts or too many details that needs to be remembered. But in case of perspective-based mentoring, though initial growth will be slower, but it is going to be an exponential in nature. Why? Because the perspectives or concepts are lesser in number, and those get ingrained into our brain, those get ingrained into our blood. Another comparison we can do it like here between the group or purely online courses, okay, versus the kind of approach that I am proposing over here, which is holistic and individualistic. In case of a group or purely online courses, the lot of loopholes get created. Only partial view is been given instead of considering all the topics of the domain basics. Only the part of the domain basics is covered. But in case of a holistic and individualistic approach, there are no loopholes, and all the domain basics are covered in a step by step manner actually. So these particular are the advantages of the particular approach called perspective-based mentoring. And that's how we are going to learn DSA and programming. So which means we are going to spend only 20% of effort but get the 80% of the result, which means our growth will be in a shorter time, and also we'll be able to retain that particular growth momentum if we go for this perspective-based mentoring approach. If this sounds interesting, you can contact me on this particular number. You can call me, text me, or send a chatting message on one of these chatting applications. Thank you.